Stray dog stops car and begs driver to follow. He immediately called 911. No one could have believed what happened next. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. It was supposed to be just another peaceful drive home. Jack Reynolds, a 34-year-old delivery supervisor, had just finished a long shift and was eager to unwind. The rural highway stretched ahead, quiet and mostly empty, with the sun dipping low behind the horizon. He rolled down the window slightly, letting the cool evening breeze sweep through his car. A familiar playlist hummed softly in the background, and for a moment, everything felt calm, routine, even. That's when he saw it. A figure darted onto the road, forcing Jack to slam the brakes. Tires screeched against the asphalt as the car jolted to a halt. Just feet away stood a German Shepherd, right in the middle of the lane. It wasn't snarling. It wasn't aggressive. But it didn't move either. It just stood there, staring directly at Jack, as if pleading for something. His heart pounded as he gripped the steering wheel. Was the dog lost? Hurt? Why was it looking at him like that? Jack blinked, unsure of what to do. The dog slowly approached the car, its eyes wide, body trembling, but determined. Whatever this dog needed, Jack sensed it wasn't just help, it was urgent. Jack slowly lowered his window, unsure of what the dog would do. The German Shepherd didn't bark or growl. Instead, it placed its front paws gently on the car door, lifting itself just enough to meet Jack's eyes. And that's when Jack saw it. Tears. Actual tears glistened in the dog's eyes, trailing down its fur like raindrops. It wasn't just scared, it was devastated. Jack's chest tightened. He had seen dogs beg for food before, but this was different. This was a plea for something deeper. The dog let out a soft whine, then dropped back to the ground and turned around. It looked over its shoulder, locking eyes with Jack once more before taking a few steps away, then stopped. It didn't run. It waited. Jack sat frozen, watching as the dog repeated the motion, stepping a bit farther and pausing, looking back again. It was trying to lead him somewhere. He glanced around. No houses in sight. No people. No cars. Just empty fields stretching out into the fading light. Part of him wanted to drive away, call animal control, do the responsible thing. But something in the dog's behavior gnawed at him, against every logical instinct. Jack opened the door and followed. Jack stepped out cautiously, closing the car door behind him with a soft click. The German Shepherd immediately perked up, tail flicking with anxious energy. Without a sound, it turned and began trotting into the tall grass beside the road. Jack followed, his boots crunching softly against the dry earth. He didn't know why he was doing this, only that the dog's desperation felt too real to ignore. The evening air grew cooler, shadows stretching long as the sun disappeared behind the trees. The path was uneven, wild, and winding. Brambles tugged at Jack's sleeves, and the ground sloped slightly downward into a shallow, wooded area. Still, the dog didn't stop. Every few seconds, it turned back to make sure Jack was close, then picked up pace again. It was leading him somewhere with purpose. There was no doubt about that now. Jack's heart pounded, a mix of adrenaline and confusion racing through him. Was someone hurt? Trapped? Or was this all some strange coincidence? He didn't have answers. But the farther they went, the more he felt like he wasn't chasing the dog, it was guiding him. Then suddenly, the dog stopped dead, ears forward, body tense, staring ahead into the trees. Jack slowed his steps as he caught up to the dog, who stood motionless at the edge of a small clearing. The shepherd's entire body was rigid, his ears pinned forward, eyes locked on something hidden among the brush. Jack followed the dog's gaze, and his stomach dropped. There, half covered by fallen leaves and branches, was a figure lying motionless. It was a young woman. Her clothes were torn and muddy, her arm twisted unnaturally beneath her. She wasn't moving. "Oh my God," Jack whispered, rushing forward. He dropped to his knees beside her and checked for a pulse. It was faint, barely there, but it was something. Her lips were cracked, her skin cold. The dog whined beside them, circling her protectively. It had stayed with her all this time. Jack's hands shook as he reached into his pocket and fumbled for his phone. With trembling fingers, he dialed 911. "I need an ambulance," he barked. "There's a woman. She's unconscious, barely breathing." I don't know how long she's been out here." His voice cracked with urgency. The operator asked for his location. He gave the best directions he could, eyes never leaving the woman's still face. This wasn't a rescue anymore, it was a race against time. Minutes felt like hours as Jack stayed by the woman's side, whispering words of reassurance she couldn't hear. The German Shepherd never left her, pressing close against her body as if trying to keep her warm. Then came the distant wail of sirens. Relief flooded Jack's chest. He stood and waved both arms toward the tree line, signaling the first responders. "Over here," he shouted. "She's alive, but just barely." Two paramedics burst through the brush, followed by a uniformed officer. They dropped to their knees beside the woman, immediately checking her vitals. One paramedic called for a stretcher while the other fitted an oxygen mask over her face. "She's severely dehydrated," one muttered. "We need to move fast." Jack stepped back, heart racing, as they lifted her onto the stretcher. The shepherd barked sharply and tried to follow, only calming when Jack gently placed a hand on his back. "Easy, buddy. They're helping her now." The dog whimpered but stayed close. As they rushed her toward the ambulance, an officer turned to Jack. "How did you find her out here?" Jack looked down at the German Shepherd, now quietly walking beside him. "I didn't," he said softly. "He did." At the hospital, Jack waited anxiously in the lobby while officers and medical staff worked behind closed doors. The German Shepherd lay beside his feet, head resting on his paws, eyes fixed on the hallway. Time dragged, but finally, a detective approached. "We pieced it together," he said, sitting across from Jack. "The woman was reported missing 3 days ago. She went hiking alone. A storm hit the area, landslides, flooding. We believe she slipped and got knocked unconscious." Jack's eyes widened. "And the dog?" The detective nodded toward the shepherd. "According to her family, she didn't own a dog. We ran a scan, no chip. He must have found her on his own. And he never left." Jack stared at the dog, stunned. For days, this animal had stayed in the wilderness, guarding a complete stranger. No food, no shelter, just instinct and loyalty. It didn't make sense. And yet it did. "He kept her alive," Jack whispered. The officer gave a small smile. "He saved her life. And maybe yours too. Who knows what would have happened if you'd ignored him?" Jack looked down at the shepherd. The dog stared back, quiet and steady. He wasn't just a stray. He was something far greater. 2 days later, Jack returned to the hospital, this time with a box of treats tucked under one arm and the German Shepherd trotting loyally at his side. Nurses greeted them with warm smiles, already familiar with the story that had spread across the hospital like wildfire. "They're waiting for you," one whispered, leading him down the hall. Jack's heart pounded with anticipation. Inside the room, the woman sat upright in bed, pale but smiling. Her eyes welled with tears the moment she saw the dog. "You found me," she whispered, her voice breaking. The shepherd whimpered, then stepped forward, resting his head gently on her lap. She reached out with trembling fingers, burying them into his thick fur. "You stayed with me. You never left." Jack stood quietly at the doorway, a lump in his throat. He watched as the woman hugged the dog, her shoulders shaking. It wasn't just relief, it was gratitude, deep and overwhelming. The kind you feel when you realize you owe your life to a stranger. If this story touched your heart, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe.